It's time for another news roundup. Hit me! So Trudeau, our sometimes embarrassing... I think I have stuff on my face. Fuck. You'd think I'd bother cleaning my face before I started these things. As I was saying, Trudeau, our sometimes embarrassing Prime Minister, who I actually helped elect, I am sorry, got himself involved in some controversy this week. During a town hall meeting in Edmonton, the capital of the province I actually live in, well, this happened.
So that's why we came here today to ask you to also look into the policies that religious charitable organizations have in our legislation so that it can also be changed, because maternal love is the love that's going to change the future of mankind. So we'd like you to look into
we like to say people kind, not necessarily mankind.
So yeah, Justin, I'm more of a feminist than you, Trudeau, interrupted this woman to mansplain. And I don't even like that word, but if there ever was mansplaining going on, that was it. That was the most, the most pedantic way for a man to correct a woman. It served absolutely no purpose than for him to satisfy his need to say, I am more respectful of women than an actual woman. That's what he was saying with that exchange. That is the most condescending, the most petulant thing I have ever seen, and I spent the good majority of the last 20 years on the internet. The dude corrected a woman to point out how much more respectful towards women he is. And worst of all, people kind? What the fuck is people kind? We already have words that work in that context. Say humanity or humankind, or just don't be a douche and let her say the words that she's obviously more comfortable saying. But yeah, if you're going to be a pedantic ass, at least be right about it. Choose a word that actually exists. I voted for this guy. Now, to play devil's advocate, there's an article by the National Post that argues that the whole people kind thing might have been a poorly executed joke. And I'll leave the link in the description. You can see the whole video. You tell me if you buy it. I don't think so. I think Justin Trudeau is the kind of smarmy male feminist ally, as they say, that would pull some shit like this to show that he's actually more enlightened than the people, the oppressed people that he's trying to protect. That does sound like him. What do you think? Today, in fact just a few hours ago, SpaceX tested the Falcon Heavy, the largest and most powerful rocket the fledgling aerospace company has ever made. Sure, it was supposed to go up in 2014, but if there's one thing Elon Musk is good at, missing deadlines. We got that in common. One of the highlights of the live feed was the moment when the outer boosters separated and then landed simultaneously and autonomously on landing pads. The kind of thing I expect to see in sci-fi movies, not while I'm lying in bed playing Pokemon Fire Red. By the way, my team sucks and I'm open to suggestions. The massive rocket tested today shot its payload towards Mars, and by payload, I mean this. A cherry red Roadster, a car made by Musk's own car manufacturer. Fun fact, Tesla doesn't do any advertising whatsoever, and after today, they won't need it anyway. Now, why put a car atop a rocket other than, you know, because he can? Well, when these rockets are test fired, they have to have what's called a mass simulator, which is usually just blocks of concrete on the top of the rocket to simulate the payload they would be taking into space, like a satellite or whatever. Musk thought that the whole concrete block was kind of boring, so he put in a car instead. His own car! I mean, he owns the factory, so I mean, he can just get another one, but it's still pretty cool. Last year, Musk said that instead of the mass simulator, the whole concrete block thing, what he would try to put the silliest thing imaginable on top of the Falcon Heavy. And if by silliest thing imaginable he meant absolutely kick-ass, well, he was spot on. Riding the Roadster is Starman, a dummy wearing SpaceX prototype flight suit to be used in future manned missions. Wait, I said Starman, didn't I? Let's make that Star Person. And I also said man missions. Person missions. Don't want to get called out by Trudeau. Now we have some Doritos controversy. I don't like Doritos. Do you like Doritos? Not a huge fan. I'll eat them if they're there. And if I hadn't had a meal in like say 5 hours and I have something to wash it down, to wash that Doritos flavor down, then yeah, sure, I'll have some. I'll take a few. Indra Noonie, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right, probably not, the chief executive at PepsiCo, the company that owns the Doritos brand, recorded an episode of the Freakonomics radio podcast a few days ago. In it, she said that women don't eat Doritos the same way that men do. And when she said that, she was asked whether PepsiCo would consider making a special brand of Doritos targeting their female consumers. This is what she responded. It's not a male and female as much as are there snacks for women women that can be designed and packaged differently. And yes, we're looking at it, and we're getting ready to launch a bunch of them soon. For women, low crunch, the full taste profile, not have so much of the flavor stick on the fingers, and how can you put it in a purse? Because women love to carry a snack in their purse. So of course, people on the internet were outraged, and they started comparing Doritos to other products that are made to cater to women that some people find patronizing or offensive. And what's a little more aggravating is that some of these products that are made for women are often more expensive than their male counterparts, a phenomenon some people have dubbed the pink tax. I notice now I do a lot of air quotes in these videos. Trying to put out the social media firestorm, Pepsi came out with this. The reporting on a specific Doritos product for female consumers is inaccurate. We already have Doritos for women, they're called Doritos, and they're enjoyed by millions of people every day. Enjoyed might be It's more like people subject themselves to Doritos every day. They tried to soothe the angry mobs by implying that there's no difference in behavior whatsoever between men and women, which I find a little hilarious because obviously they believe so. That was the whole point of Newey's statement on the podcast. Clearly, their executives believe that such differences exist. Political correctness be damned. That's just what they observed. This reminds me of that whole James Damore memo controversy. You know, the guy who used to work at Google, and then he wrote a memo trying to explain why, from his point of view, using some data that he looked into, why there's more men than women in STEM fields. The paper was maligned by news media right out of the gate, with some publications claiming Damore outright said women can't be engineers, when in reality, all that he said is that the differences in preferences might account for some of that disparity. Google, along with many others, tripped over themselves to discredit the memo, basically saying that implying that men and women have different preferences is sexist and offensive. Except they know this is a fact. That's why their demographic targeting settings in AdWords can select for gender. They know that female consumers and male consumers are not drawn to the same things and they don't behave the same way. Google earned billions by capitalizing on the observable fact that men and women are drawn to different things. And in fact, their ad tools allow for this specificity. I see these two situations as very similar. A company tacitly admitting by their practices that yes, men like some things, women like some other things, and we cater to these individual needs. But then when the internet gets mad, they backtrack instead of, you know, putting their money where their mouth is. Although, I guess in this case it would be putting their mouth where their money is. I'm not very good at metaphors. But that's the news for this week. If you're new to the channel, consider dropping a like, maybe subscribe. There's videos here 2 a week, sound about right? How about that? Let's say 2 a week. And that's all the time I have for today. I'll see you guys next time.